Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. Hope you guys are having a chill day today. And I know many of you guys are thinking that my thumbnail has to be clickbait. But if you guys give me a chance and you guys watch this video in its entirety, you'll understand why NFTs are perhaps the best risk reward opportunity in the entire space. I had one friend turn roughly $20,000 to $30,000 into $2 to $3 million in the course of just a few months. And in this video, I'll show you guys which collection he did that with. Now I have another friend who's making a concentrated bet on another collection, and this idea of turning roughly $10,000 into $1 million over the course of a couple months originated from him. So by watching this video, you'll learn how that's possible. And I would encourage you guys to watch the last segment of the video where I talk about the potential risks and downsides, because there's been plenty of people that have gotten wrecked trading NFTs. Now, the focus of my channel tends to be on DeFi and also figuring out where that big ball of capital is about to flow into next. This way we can make multiples on our investment to generate a consistent stream of passive income. So if any of that resonates with you, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. And if you find the information valuable, I would greatly appreciate it if you guys would comment down below and give the video a like. Now, with the intro out of the way, let's go ahead and dive into this video. All right, to begin the video, let me show you the collection that one of my buddies used to turn $20,000 to $30,000 into about $2 to $3 million. So after we had that mid-cycle sell-off, my buddy rotated a good chunk of his portfolio and acquired SOL tokens. And at that time, there wasn't much NFT related activity, and somebody within our private group tipped us off to this collection here that was still being minted. And during that time, SOL was roughly around $30 to $50, and the mint cost was only 1.5 SOL. I personally only bought approximately 10 of these, but my buddy ended up minting hundreds of these. And even when they got listed on the secondary market, he was trying to pick up the rarest ones, which later were selling for 2,000 to 3,000 SOL. And during that same time, the floor went to approximately 30 SOL. I mean, he managed to cash out a decent portion of his collection, but he ended up holding 75% of it until today. And if you look at the volume, it's almost next to nothing. Look at the latest sales that we've seen. I mean, they're days apart. I mean, it's a night and day difference between what we saw during the summer, where some of these pieces were selling for 2,000 to 3,000 SOL, versus now where you're lucky to get a sale even at the floor price. And if you guys have been following the NFT scene, you guys know that this is pretty commonplace with NFT collections. And it's the risk that people have to take in order to get these asymmetric returns. And towards the end of the video, I'll highlight a few more risks that you guys should be aware of before you guys decide to make any sort of concentrated bet on a mint or an NFT collection. Now that we covered the collection that my buddy used to make millions of dollars, let's transition over to talking about another one of my friends who's made a large bet on the fat punks. So I'm going to be using this collection to illustrate the broader point that I'm trying to make about the incredible risk reward opportunities within the NFT space. But before I show you guys how you could potentially turn $10,000 into $1 million, let me quickly give you a summary of what fat punks is. So what you're seeing nowadays is that projects that are looking for funding are jumping on top of the NFT hype. Fabric at its core is a synthetic issuance protocol that's building a DEX that's scheduled to launch sometime in Q1. So instead of going the conventional route and seeking out funding from VC, they ended up hosting this mint. They sold 10,000 NFTs at 1.5 SOL a piece, and to reward early investors, they've added utility to these NFTs. For example, you're going to be able to get 50% of the royalties generated by punks sold on the secondary markets. Currently it's 100%, but once the volume picks up, the team will go ahead and revert the royalties to 50% to align with what they promised during the sale. Also, that DEX that they're building, a portion of the fees generated by that DEX are going to go to fat punk holders. And they're actually not the only project to go this route. You had Genesis Go that had their sale for 2.5 SOL a piece, and they're actually focusing on the infrastructure for Solana blockchain by maintaining RPC servers and validator nodes. And because of the prospects of making passive income, with some estimates stating that each NFT could produce $4,000 to $10,000 worth of passive income per month, we've seen the floor prices skyrocket. And even though the mint cost was 2.5 SOL, the current floor price for these NFTs is 81.5 SOL on Magic Eden. And if you guys watched the most recent video I did on Solana NFTs, I talked about Genesis Co, Fab Punks, and a couple other NFT collections that I think could potentially do pretty well in Q1. And that's mostly because these NFTs offer utility, in this case being passive income for users that are holding these NFTs. And just generally speaking, I think moving forward, NFTs that provide utility are ultimately going to be more attractive to investors versus NFTs that are just simply PFP collections. Now that I've given you guys a brief introduction to Fab Punks, and I've showed you guys an example of an NFT project with utility that's been successful to date, I'm going to now illustrate to you guys exactly how you can turn $10,000 to potentially $1 million plus. And by the way, if you guys wanted to learn more about Fab Punks, I've done a full video review on that platform, which I'll link in the description below for you guys. So let's say you guys have $10,000 and you decide to buy SOL with it. So we'll round up and we'll say SOL is worth $200 today. That's going to give you 50 SOL. And let's suppose your average cost for these NFTs is 1.5 SOL. So 50 divided by 1.5 SOL is 33.3. And so since you guys can't currently buy a fraction of these NFTs, let's go ahead and round this down to 33. Now understand that the floor for shadowy supercoder NFTs is 80 SOL, but obviously they're doing something different, so there's no guarantee that this collection is going to replicate those returns. But let's say that collection is doing really well and people are making $5,000 a month in passive income by staking those NFTs. That could potentially prompt NFT investors to seek out opportunities that could also generate passive income for them. And so let's say because of that, there's this huge speculative premium on the Fab Punks, and they end up going to 30 SOL a piece. So 33 times 30 is 990. And because you watched this video and you don't want to make the same mistake that my buddy made with the Abstractica collection, you end up selling all of your Fab Punk NFTs, and now you're left with 990 SOL. And let's say while NFT season is raging and the market is doing really well, the price of SOL ends up going from 200 SOL from where you bought it all the way to $1,000. Now that 990 SOL that you have is worth roughly $1 million. Now, obviously something like this is a moonshot unless you got some sort of insider information, because there's a lot of unknown variables, which I'll discuss in the next segment of the video, that are out of your control and could easily just derail the entire project. But I think overall you guys understand the point that I'm trying to make here, especially in the current market environment. If you look at Magic Eden, which is getting a lion's share of the volume these days, you can see that since the end of November, volume for NFTs has been on an uptrend. It's my personal opinion that we probably have a month or two of this left, and during this time I think people have the highest potential to make life-changing gains. Now that you guys have a pretty good understanding of the risk-reward potential on Solana when it comes to NFTs, let's go ahead and cover some of the risks. To begin with, your NFTs are likely to become your most illiquid asset during a downturn. Unlike tokens that you can market sell on exchanges or decentralized exchanges, with most NFTs you can't do that. There are a handful of NFTs that have been fractionalized, and with those NFTs you can actually just dump them on a decentralized exchange. But the vast majority of them aren't fractionalized, and when we inevitably have another low volume session with Solana based NFTs, you're going to get what you see here with Abstracticas. If you look here, a lot of this activity didn't happen until like a month ago, and there's days that went by where 0 NFTs were sold. So even though the floor price here is 1.3, if you even have, let's say, 10 of these, it's going to be almost impossible for you to even get rid of them at the floor price. So unless you plan to hold something long term, this is something you need to be very cognizant about as you buy these NFTs. One potential solution could be to de-risk. So if you buy a handful of the NFTs, maybe sell half or a portion of them to get back your cost basis. And many people who traded NFTs during the summer know this firsthand. And I think that's part of the reason why you're seeing some of these dormant players coming to the market and selling their NFTs now while there's a decent amount of volume. But inevitably, we're going to see a new cohort of investors flock into the ecosystem, and they're going to make the same mistakes that people made during the summer. And so since you're watching this video until this point, hopefully you won't end up like one of these people. Now, another risk is a team not executing. Specifically applies to NFTs with utility. Now, whether it's Fab Punks, super shadowy coders, geobots, In all cases, the success of the project, the NFT collection, depends on the team's ability to ship code and meet deadlines. If, let's say, the project doesn't meet these deadlines, keeps pushing them back, eventually the NFT holders will start to lose faith and dump the NFTs on the secondary marketplace. And so that's really incumbent upon the NFT investors to go ahead and follow the Discord, follow the Twitter, keep up with the developments to make sure that the team is acting in good faith and they're actually shipping code and meeting deadlines. Now, this next risk only applies to projects like FatPunks or GeoBots, because they're giving a portion of the fees generated by their respective dexes to individuals holding the NFTs. And so if the volume is anemic, that means that these NFT holders aren't going to be making much profit, which will cause people and investors to reprice the value of the NFTs. And let's say they fail altogether to generate any meaningful volume. Well, in that setting, of course, you're going to get a negative reaction from holders. They may immediately try to get rid of their NFTs, causing the floor price to crash. Now, the fourth risk that I want to talk about is opportunity cost. Let's say that you only have $10,000, or you want to use all the money that you have to make a concentrated bet on one collection. Now, my buddy made a concentrated bet on FatPunks about a month back, during which time many of these NFT collections saw their floors go up many multiples. And so if you don't end up diversifying, the entire NFT season or mania could go past you, and you could end up capturing very little or no gains throughout the cycle. And so in summary, before you guys end up making a concentrated bet, take the risk that I mentioned into consideration. Although some of the richest people I know have made their money by making concentrated bets like the one that I've outlined in this video. And for those of you guys who can't afford to take the risk, or maybe that's not just your investment style, then make sure to check out the Samurai Monkeys. It's an NFT project that I'm currently working on. And basically we're setting this up to be a great bear market play, because we're going to take the capital that we get from the mint, we're going to stick it into DeFi protocols, generate a yield, and use that yield to purchase GameFi assets and metaverse assets. And our focus is going to be buying productive assets that can produce passive income for the overall portfolio. And at some point, when the treasury gets big enough, we're going to start disseminating some of the yield that we get to NFT holders. The mint is going to happen sometime in Q1, ideally in mid to end of January. And to make sure that you get whitelisted, head over to the Samurai Monkey Dojo Discord by clicking the link in the description below. There's going to be more than one way to get whitelisted, but currently if you invite 20 plus people to the Discord, that'll grant you a whitelist. And we also have poker nights on Saturdays. If you guys end up winning, you'll get some prizes and a whitelist to the Samurai Monkey Mint. And also make sure you guys give the Twitter profile a follow. We have the Discord link here, and we also provide a link to the Medium account. And in the coming weeks, we're going to give you guys more and more details about the project. And so if any of that interests you, make sure you guys start by clicking the Discord link or the Twitter profile link in the description below. Well, that pretty much wraps things up. I hope you guys enjoyed today's content. If you guys did, I would appreciate a like. With that, this is CryptoOneStop signing out. I'll talk to you folks next time. Bye.